Here, FanDuel.com, locked on. All right, Arizona has now had a massive win against the LA schools. Let's talk about where they fit in the grand scheme of things. And we're going to start with some massive Arizona football news and what it means. All right, let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show. But first of all, happy Tuesday to everybody else, everybody out there. Hope you're all having a great day. Now, first thing we're going to talk about here is a little bit of Arizona football. And the thing that we talked about a little bit yesterday, but it just goes to show you again just how different Jedd Fisch is than the other coaches, many of the other coaches that we have had here at the University of Arizona, to put it mildly. All right, so first thing that I look at is when a coach comes in here, they all say the same thing. They all say, we're going to recruit really hard. We're going to do all of this stuff. And then, they start getting their paychecks, and then it just doesn't really happen. But Jedd Fisch came in here, said all of that, and it's actually come to fruition. And again, I think a lot of Arizona fans are a little scarred by everything because, because of the Kevin Sumlin era, because of the Kevin Sumlin era, because of Rich Rod, it always feels like somebody wants to be out of here pretty much immediately. And Jedd Fisch came in and said, no, listen, he said, we can win at the University of Arizona. We're going to win at the University of Arizona. And we're going to do it via recruiting. Now, the first recruiting class comes in a little bit more difficult, but I think you also got to look at it and say that, that's you're coming in late. Then with a year under his belt, that's when things start making the difference. With a year under his belt, that's when Arizona gets a top 25 recruiting class. And the thing about it too is that you watch them and you know for a fact that, all right, this is a little bit different right here. You're bringing in a guy like a T-Mac who, let's be honest, Arizona fans are not used to getting. And then after that, you also get a guy like a Speedy Luke who could have gone pretty much anywhere that he wanted in the country. He was that type of player, has that kind of ability. But the thing that I think a lot of people were a little thrown off by was how is Arizona going to do against, in that second year, that third year, how would Arizona go? And so far, so good. And that's to put it mildly. Now, the big thing about it is Leviticus Su'a. He is arguably the highlight of the recruiting class, along with Braden Dorman, who we're going to get to here temporarily. But Leviticus Su'a comes in at a position of need. And not only does he come in at a position of need, he comes in a position where Arizona has talked about how they need to get bigger in, they need to get better at, and he's pretty much ready to physically play pretty much right now. And I think that's what's exciting for so many Arizona fans is that he does look able and ready to play, because we've had a lot of times guys have come in and you're like, all right, well, it's going to take you a little bit of time. Leviticus Su'a is going to be able to line up right next to Jacob Manu and Justin Flo if they so choose, and basically start out and get going here from day one. I think that's what's exciting about this entire endeavor right now. So then let's talk a little bit about Braden Dorman. Braden Dorman was, to put it mildly, impressive in the Polynesian game. He certainly has a good connection with Malachi Coleman, Nebraska commit. Wink, wink. But at the end of the day, this was also a performance though where Arizona needed. Arizona's got a quarterback coming in that I don't want to say has been overshadowed, but he's been a little bit overshadowed. And if you're Arizona, that's you're okay with that. But look at it this way: you've got Jayden de Laura, who we've talked about many, many times, and not only Jayden de Laura, but you've also got you've got Noah Fafita, who I'm a huge fan of. I think Noah Fafita is absolutely. I think has a big time future here. But you also got to remember too that Arizona also has Braden Dorman, and Braden Dorman is built much much different than the other 5 stars or the other quarterbacks that Arizona has right here. He's a player that again, you watch him. He's big. He's strong. He's about 6'6", something like that, and he's got a rocket arm. But there is a massive, massive future for him coming up, and I think that's your Arizona. You got to be pretty excited about that. All of those possibilities right there. Now, so you got Dorman, you got Leviticus Su'a. Those are 2 of the headliners of your class, and then Jedd Fisch isn't slowing down. He's not slowing down at all. As a matter of fact, he's actually going to the next level here. You look at the 2024 class, you've already got Jordan Washington committed. Jordan Washington is a mid to high 4-star recruit, running back recruit out of California. He also fits in very well with what Arizona is trying to do. And what I mean by that is Arizona wants speed. Arizona wants speed across the board. And if Arizona can get that speed, then I think it feels very good about where it can be going forward. Now, and they've done this in every single class, from Brandon Johnson to Speedy Luke to now to Jordan Washington. They've done a very, very good job of getting in players that they need, getting in players that can really, stress systems and help Jedd Fisch out there in a big way. And I think that's an exciting part here for the University of Arizona. Now, let's talk a little bit about here where Arizona goes next. Now, the thing you got to remember too is that Arizona is not huge on. I mean, the coaching staff wants to get high 4 stars. Everybody wants to get high 4 stars. There's no doubt about it. But the coaching staff has also shown that they do a very, very good job of recruiting here and evaluating. And I think that's the big, big key here is the evaluation part of it. Because you look at some of the players that really emerged last year for Arizona, and these were some of these guys were under the radar. I mean, nobody really wanted Jacob Manu. Julian Savanea was underrated, to put it. Julian Savanea was underrated, to put it mildly. Or not Jonah Savanea. Maybe his brother will be as well. That's called maybe that's a Freudian slip right there. And then, other players as well, like, Tanner McLaughlin. So this coaching staff has a very, very good ability to be able to find who they need, and not only find who they need, but to be able to make kind of that next level approach to it. So, again, tip of the cap to Jedd Fisch right there, because not only has Jedd Fisch been good, Jedd Fisch has delivered on his promises so far. Again, I'm looking for 7 wins this year. I think this is going to be a team that's going to win a lot of games. And not only are they going to win a lot of games, they're going to make us proud in the process. So again, kudos to Jedd Fisch. Very impressed with what he's been able to do, because again, this isn't this isn't necessarily easy what they're doing right here. This is it's not an easy place to recruit at, but so far so good. Been very impressed by what Arizona's been able to do. Now, moving over to a little bit of Arizona basketball. Now, looking kind of at the conference, yes, UCLA is still ahead of the conference. There's, not breaking any news right there. They're still ahead of the conference, but I think where we're also kind of in a unique spot right now is that Arizona has now shown that they can, and they've shown this throughout the season. They can beat the best of the best. They can hang with the best of the best, and they've been able to do that all season. You just look at their track record right now. Tennessee, they've already beaten. Tennessee's going to be a top 10 team all season long. Then after that, UCLA, they're a top 10 team. I don't care what anybody says. They're a top 10 team. That's what top 10 teams look like. Then after that, you're also dealing with some interesting situations where, Arizona, UCLA, then who knows after that? Maybe USC, maybe Oregon. I don't really know where that next spot is, but there's going to be a battle for it. Now, let's just say for a second that you wanted to bet on this on FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is where it's at. FanDuel, new to Locked On, and we're ecstatic to have FanDuel here because, again, everybody knows about FanDuel and what it does. So here's the deal. The NFL playoffs are here, and if you bet $5, you can get $150. And again, we're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have new features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Again, go ahead and talk about it. Any bets that I like I actually like the Bengals, or not the Bengals. I actually like I like the Chiefs to come out of the AFC, but take that for what it's worth. All on this app. It's free, it's secure, so football fans don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet. Get $150 in bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports partner of the NFL. Okay, now we'll be right back with you. We're going to now talk more about Arizona basketball and the Pac-12. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we got some more stuff to talk to right here. So first thing I want to talk to a little bit about is where Arizona is right now nationally. Now, I think it's fairly safe to say that Arizona is a top 10 team, and they're at least a top, and if they're not a top, yeah, they are a top 10 team. They're somewhere, maybe not in that top tier, but they're not that far after that. And that's, I think that's obviously a pretty good thing. What I look for, though, with this squad going forward is, can you continue to build on this? Because Arizona has now shown that they can win in a variety of different ways. And I think that's what's exciting for a lot of people right now, is that they've shown that they can win in a variety of ways, which is, obviously something that's impressive. Generally, Arizona wants to get up and down. Not only do they want to get up and down, they want to be able to run. But, they've also shown that if they can't, they can win in other ways. And that's what they've been able to do. And I think that's why people are very I think that's where people are quite impressed by, or at least I was quite impressed, because this is a game where if Arizona wasn't tough, Arizona could have easily lost this game. And I think that, right now, Arizona showed that they can win in a variety of different ways against a top 10 team right there. And I think that's obviously pretty impressive stuff. Now, with the rest of this team, though, you also watch them and you're like, okay, Azuolas Tubelis, they did a great job of him. He bounced back in a big way in that second half against UCLA, in a way that you could tell that Arizona was kind of like, all right, this isn't going to be easy per se, but Arizona's going to be able to get a victory here, and they were able to get that victory. And I think that's what was impressive about this entire situation. Now, not only were they able to get that victory, they were able to do it where Arizona, yes, the game was closer, but Arizona was essentially 10 points for the majority of that game. Now, with the rest of this squad, then guys like Kerr Kriisa, you got to be able to step up there a little bit, because again, while Kerr Kriisa has done some very good things, the shooting is the shooting is less than ideal. Um, and, when you've got a player like him, you need him to be able to shoot. And so far, he hasn't been able to show any of that. And I think that's been a little disappointing. Matter of fact, his numbers are getting even worse. And I think if you're Arizona, you're hoping that maybe this comes back. But I also don't see this. I also don't see this necessarily being the case. So we'll find out, though, more about that as it goes forward. Now, but people also need to realize too that in this, Arizona, this is one of the every team is losing out there. Look at Kansas. Kansas is number one team in the country. They lose 2 straight games. Then forget about that for a second. Who's it? UConn. UConn goes to number one, and then they lose like 5 straight games. So there's all kinds of stuff out there that I think Arizona fans hold themselves to a little bit of a higher standard. And I get it, but you also got to remember that everybody is losing games out there. And not only is everybody losing games, it's also, it's just the way the college basketball is right now. And that's okay. There's not a problem with that. But I think people do need to remember, though, that this is this is the way the college basketball is. So it's not just your team that's losing, it's every other team that's losing. And every other team out there has flaws. There's no, you're not hiding behind anything saying that, Arizona doesn't have, Arizona's got problems here, problems there. Yes, but everybody's got problems. Everybody has problems in certain ways. And that's where I think people need to be a little bit more, how do I put this? People need to be a little bit more understanding. I'll put it to you like that, because again, at the end of the day, this every team is losing a game. All right, now let's take a quick break. Let's talk about what's coming up with the Washington schools. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we got even more to get to here. So here's what we're going to do. Arizona, Washington, both the Washington schools. Well, normally I'd like to say that the Washington schools stink, and they do. But Washington State did beat Arizona, and Washington State is better than Washington. So let's talk about them first. That's going to be a revenge game for Washington, and honestly, for Arizona, and they should be able to win that game. And if they can't win that game, then maybe just Washington State has their number. I don't really know, but this is a game that Arizona should be able to win. And if they can't win that, then there's some bigger issues at play right there. Now, then you also watch them and you're like, okay, Washington State, you've got a big man down low, and that's where it's going to be fascinating, because again, you got a big man down low who can make some plays, but at the same time, it's also, Arizona has shown that they have some problems with length at times. And I think that's where everybody's going to be a little interested to see how Arizona matches up right there, because they do have some issues with length. And if they have some issues with length, then it's going to come out against Washington State. Hopefully, if you're Arizona, you're going to be able to take advantage of that, though. So we'll find out right there. But I'm excited to see, though. This is a great time, though, for Arizona sports, from Arizona football to Arizona basketball. You name it, the Cats are doing it right now. All right. Now, we will be back with you tomorrow. Obviously, we're going day by day by day right here. Want to talk a little bit Arizona football, a little bit Arizona basketball. But we will be back with you tomorrow. And again, big kudos right now to FanDuel. So excited to have FanDuel with us, because FanDuel is where, it's cool to have them on there. So again, check out the cool lines. Again, this is a great time to be able to bet, because right now Arizona has not only is Arizona playing, but you've also got the NFL, you got the NBA as well. So on that note, everybody out there, have a great rest of your Tuesday. And as always, thanks for listening to